Israel is escalating its military operation against Hamas in Gaza City. While it's winning the war on the ground, a new study indicates Israel is losing the global public relations battle.
Meanwhile, Israel's prime minister has put the discussion of annexing some key biblical lands on hold, at least for now. Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reportedly removed discussions of annexing much of the biblical lands of Judea and Samaria off the agenda today, according to the Jerusalem Post. That move comes after a warning from the United Arab Emirates that annexing the biblical heartland, known as the West Bank, could endanger the Abraham Accords, saying the action would be a red line. The move to annex the area came in response to Western nations' decision to recognize a Palestinian state at the UN this month. Regional and local council heads from Judea and Samaria, along with Finance Minister Smotrich, laid out a plan for sovereignty over more than 80% of Judea and Samaria, leaving a number of Palestinian city-states in the West Bank.
Beyond the historical, biblical, and moral right of the Jewish people to their land, sovereignty has a paramount security role to prevent the establishment of an Arab state in the heart of our homeland.
U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee told CBN News that he and President Trump have not discussed the issue.
Generally, the president's attitude has been not just with Israel, but with countries around the world. You're a sovereign nation. You make your own decisions.
Meanwhile, Houthi rebels continue to launch missiles at Israel, including one with a deadly cluster warhead. They were all intercepted before reaching Israeli territory. In Gaza, Israel Defense Forces Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir says Israel is expanding combat and intensifying its operations against Hamas in order to achieve the objectives of returning the hostages and defeating Hamas. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump warned Hamas on Wednesday to set the hostages free. Tell Hamas to immediately give back all 20 hostages, not 2 or 5 or 7, and things will change rapidly. It will end. In Jerusalem and elsewhere in Israel, protests to free the hostages turned violent. Demonstrators set fire to a car near the prime minister's residence. Netanyahu says the war could end immediately if Hamas agrees to the conditions set by the Security Cabinet, including the release of all 48 hostages, Hamas disarmed, and Israel has security control in the Gaza Strip. But even as Israel makes military progress against Hamas, a new report from Bar-Ilan University shows how Israel is having difficulty in the global narrative about the war, pointing out how false information about stories like a genocide in Gaza is often spread by Hamas and others to make Israel look bad, creating a major public relations problem for the Jewish state. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, I'll make a not-so-bold prediction. Hamas is not going to surrender. They're not going to voluntarily release the hostages. They're not going to lay down their arms, and they're not going to give up control of Gaza. That is just seems to be part of the plan. Their plan has been, let's use this as a PR battle against the very nation, the very existence of Israel. Let's turn our war zone into a crime scene so that international groups will come and they'll measure every single death. They'll look at nutrition for all the residents. And they won't ask the larger question, which is, well, there was poverty, there was malnourishment prior to October 7th. That Hamas is intentionally using its own population in this propaganda war, that they're intentionally putting their headquarters underneath hospitals and mosques and schools, that they intentionally roped in the UN and UNRWA and had key members of their hierarchy embedded within those organizations. They want us never to look at that. What they want to look at is here's someone with a pan in their hands who's asking for food. There's an even larger picture here, and that is the Palestinians have never wanted their own Palestinian state. What they've always wanted is there to be no Israel. That goes back to 1948. That was the reason the Arab nations declared war. There was an opportunity for there to be a Palestinian state. That opportunity was refused. And it's been refused again and again and again. In 1967, Israel offered back all of the land, the West Bank, Sinai, Gaza, all of those territories in return for peace. And the Arabs famously gave the three no's: no recognition, no peace. They're bent on wiping Israel off the map. When we buy into that propaganda war, when we somehow start to think Israel is an apartheid state or a genocidal state or all of those memes that are going all around the world, none of that is true. What is true is Hamas wants to wipe Israel off the map. And if they can't do it with conventional weapons, they are absolutely going to use propaganda.